You just mentioned about the deterrent force. British special forces have been put on high alert to prepare for the potential deployment to Ukraine, according to the paper. How can allies, European allies, perform in Ukraine without the US backstop?
Well, look, the Europe, when they work together, has enormous economic advantage over Russia. So there's economic leverage already that's there. And then when you start adding together the defense industries of all of European countries, it's way more than what Russia has. And then when you add together military capabilities of European nations, it's more than what Russia has, except in terms of nuclear weapons. So yes, of course, I wish that the United States would be a part of this in some way. But if they're not, that doesn't change the requirement. That doesn't eliminate the need or the threat just because the U.S. chooses not to be a part of it. And so this is going to be a real test, a test of whether or not Europe can meet the moment that affects its security for decades to come. Yes, they can do it, but only if they summon the political will. And I think some countries have shown that they do have the will, and then maybe others will join.
You have also supported European Sky Shield initiative to defend Ukrainian skies as a part of this peacekeeping mission. Would it be possible also without participation of the US Air Force?
All of this is possible if you have the political will. It won't be as effective in the beginning because the U.S. has always provided not just aircraft, but also the command and control, the intelligence, all the things necessary to conduct something like these air superiority missions. But regardless, if there is a ceasefire implementation force that goes in at some point, regardless of what it looks like and how it's deployed, it will have to have air and missile defense already established before it goes into Ukraine. Otherwise, they will be vulnerable to Russian missile strikes. And I think getting this so-called Sky Shield in place first will be important if we hope to have an effective deployment of a ceasefire implementation force. People should not be somehow in the false hope or belief that Russia won't shoot at a NATO country. Soldiers deployed into Ukraine are going to be vulnerable. And so we have to go in properly armed, properly equipped, ready to deter Russia from within Ukraine.
Let's also cover breaking news from the United States. White House confirms that a journalist had been added to an unsecure group in Signal, in which Trump's national security team discussed strikes on Yemen. How harmful is this incident for the U.S. national security?
Well, it's harmful in a couple of different ways. Number one, just the fact that now our adversaries know that we have leaders at the very highest level are using their cell phones on Signal to talk about the highest level classified information. I mean, this will not be the first time they will have done that. If they felt comfortable setting up a chat group and using emojis and talking about specifics about an operation that was about to happen, then obviously they've been doing it before, which means they do not have an appreciation or respect for the cumbersome procedures you're supposed to use when you're discussing highly classified information like this. So that right there tells foreign intelligence services that there's potentially opportunity where they could find a lot more information. Signal is very good, but it is not a perfect secure. Otherwise, if it was perfect, we'd all be using it all the time for classified information. The second thing is that it revealed a disdain for Europe. Now, that's not a surprise to most Europeans, but the fact that they would be making decisions and talking about Europeans, our allies, in such a way shows a gross lack of respect and also a lack of appreciation for what our allies do and provide to the United States: aerial refueling, bases, intelligence sharing, and so on. So this is dangerous for us because now allies, I think, are going to be even more reluctant to share information and share intelligence with us. They won't advertise it. They won't say, hey, U.S., sorry, we're no longer going to share with you, but they will stop sharing things. They'll begin to withhold because they'll be so concerned at this lack of discipline and unprofessional conduct at the top level. This is not good. And then the third thing, I worry there has to have been a senior officer somewhere in, even if they weren't on this chat group, if there are senior officers that are aware of these kinds of things going on, they have a duty to call it out, to say, Mr. Secretary, you cannot do this. This is, number one, it's illegal. Number two, it's a violation of all of our normal security protocols. And number three, it puts our airmen at risk. People who would be conducting the missions, it puts them at risk. And so I hope that senior officers have been pushing back on this. Otherwise, they become a part of it. People have to make their own decisions, but in normal times, a lot of people would be getting fired after this incident. There would be huge investigations. The Congress is going to have to do, congressional oversight committees should be calling for hearings, and people should be resigning. I mean, probably, first of all, the National Security Advisor, and several others. If this was normal times, people would be resigning. Instead, what we see is the president saying, I didn't know anything about this. The Secretary of Defense immediately blaming the Mr. Goldberg from the Atlantic as being, going after his credibility, even after his own department had acknowledged, or after the administration had acknowledged, that this conversation did in fact happen. So I've always believed that the first principle of leadership is accepting responsibility, and I'm not seeing that right now.
And do you also expect European allies to be more reluctant to buy American weaponry after this incident and after statements from the U.S. leadership?
Yeah, I think countries make big decisions based on confidence in who they're dealing with, and I think most of our allies, unfortunately, were already beginning to be worried, and this will only add to their concern. Now, what I hope is that the administration will take appropriate action to regain the confidence of allies and partners, as well as customers. I mean, for our own economic interests, this is the duty of the administration to regain confidence, not to go after journalists and blame them.
Also, yes, President Donald Trump has directed to create an Iron Dome over the continental U.S. to protect the United States from the air threats. According to CNN, Trump has insisted that the U.S. needs to have similar to Israel's Iron Dome. What is your assessment of such a plan?
Well, of course, it is the duty of the president to protect Americans and protect our strategic interests. We need to be clear about what threats we're talking about, and the costs of doing this. And by the way, the incredible importance of Canada as a part of this defense of North America. I mean, Canada has been a part of this structure for a very long time. And so I think the effect is needed, but the capability to do that is not going to be thousands of Iron Dome missile systems. It's going to be a combination of things of air, land-based systems, and of course, a lot of this has to happen forward in Europe and in other places. So we need access that we get from our allies. And so you can't say you want to have an Iron Dome and then go around smashing relationships with our allies.
Also, President Trump announced the decision to move forward with the next generation fighter jet titled F-47. Is the price of the project worth it?
I think this is what will always be a part of the balancing act. I mean, people laughed when President Reagan talked about the Star Wars strategic defense initiative, how expensive it would be. But it was laying out the vision for that drove research and development, that drove the deployment of necessary satellites and other systems. So I'm not against it, but we need to be realistic about expectations. And again, it won't happen without support from our allies.
And let's cover our final topic. Israel is making plans for potential major ground offensive into Gaza Strip after recent airstrikes on Gaza and Lebanon. Could this lead to the end of ceasefire deal?
I'm confused. The Trump administration during the campaign before the election, Mr. Trump and his team kept talking about ending wars, to be stop wars everywhere. And instead, here we are now, 2 months into the administration, and he has not yet stopped the war, Russia's war against Ukraine. He's ramping up aggression against the Houthis, and now Israel is violating ceasefire agreements and changing the dynamics there, which raises, I think, the risk of a conflict with Iran. And there's nothing about China. I mean, China was supposed to be the main strategic objective. Let's stop all this other stuff and focus on China. And so I don't see the connection. I don't see the strategy. By the way, I'm all for destroying the Houthis. I'm all for seeing Iran isolated, and that regime that treats its own people so terrible, seeing it overthrown. The best way to do that, of course, is help Ukraine defeat Russia. Then Iran is isolated. It's no longer able to help Hamas. It's no longer able to help the Houthis. It's no longer able to support Hezbollah. And that would send a strong message of deterrence to China. Instead, what we see is incoherence. I don't see the strategic approach.
Thank you, General Hodges, for your time and for your support for Ukraine, and glory to Ukraine.
And Rome Slava. Thank you, Daniel.